developers. Oh, fully autonomous surveillance drones, maybe the help with police do their job in an age when we can't get police. And semi-autonomous kill vehicles and robots, that'll help, turning into fully autonomous kill vehicles by 2030. Just type in self-driving truck. You'll get it. Choose simple, autonomous trucking, advanced truck safety and efficiency. Long-haul trucking redefined, fast point-to-point service, scalable capacity when you need it. All about self-driving autonomous trucking. Self-driving trucks set to rule Texas highways to fight driver shortages. Self-driving trucks are increasingly looking like the solution to addressing both driver shortfalls and supply chain breakdowns in the Lone Star State. Do you think that maybe there could be some social engineering going on? I'm just saying. It's a bit like this. Jesse Waters just dropped a bombshell on Fox News. It's finally all coming together. How left-wing families who resemble the 5 families in the famous movie The Godfather have transformed American politics and exploited their access to power while they caused a major disaster for the rest of Americans. And you will find no mention of bankers, Wall Street, think tanks, Atlantic Council, Denology, Clearforce, DynCorp, private military contractors, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. Should we keep going? Imagine you are locked in the right-left horseshit paradigm. And when I see this horseshit right-left paradigm, what I then see is a big trucking expose being a giant LARP. I can't say 100% for sure, but we need to be very, very, very cautious. Ladies and gentlemen, please be very, very, very cautious, or you end up getting led down the garden path. Remember 9/11? It was all about oil. It was about Odiginon and reshaping the Middle East, breaking up pan-Arab nationalism to expand the borders into Greater Israel and the Federated States of Greater Israel. Why? To make it a hub in terms of the Rothschild banking empire, grand pan-Eurasian superstate. To lock people up, particularly Asians and particularly the Indians, 2.8 billion people, to lock them up in the Smart Cities program, and who knows, vaccinate them into sterility. Who knows? We need that grand chessboard. We need to ask the questions again from my favorite man, hypernormalization, this brilliant, and it's literally 5 minutes. I put it on my phone and I'm sending it around on my phone to Signal and WhatsApp through people. But please watch this next 5 minutes. It will blow your mind. You've seen it before, but not in this format. I didn't realize, and I forgot, I downloaded this 5-minute segment from the hypernormalization. It's re-edited by good old Adam Curtis. It explains the problem. We can't form coherent narratives. Just as Yuri Bezmenov said, we're going to get to the point where you can't form a cohesive understanding of what's going on. If you can't form a cohesive understanding, you can't fight it. Watch this 5 minutes right now. It'll blow your mind. I'll whack it up on YouTube, but I'm banned at the moment, so I'll put it up on my Patreon account. Are you ready? Non-linear warfare, a new system of political control. You gotta love it, ladies and gentlemen. You gotta love it.
So much of the news this year has been hopeless, depressing, and above all, confusing. To which the only response is, oh dear. But what this film
is gold. Gold for Australia.
Is going to suggest is that defeatist response has become a central part of a new system of political control. And to understand how this is happening, you have to look to Russia, and to a man called Vladislav Surkov, who is a hero of our time. Surkov is one of President Putin's advisors, and has helped him maintain his power for 15 years. But he has done it in a very new way.
Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin.
He came originally from the avant-garde art world, and those who have studied his career say that what Surkov has done is import ideas from conceptual art into the very heart of politics. His aim is to undermine people's perception of the world, so they never know what is really happening. Surkov turned Russian politics into a bewildering, constantly changing piece of theatre. He sponsored all kinds of groups, from neo-Nazi skinheads to liberal human rights groups. He even backed parties that were opposed to President.
January 6th, January 6th, January 6th, Jason Funes. Jason Funes, Earth calling Jason Funes. You get to the January 6th committee, say hello from Brennan, and please, remember Adam Curtis, channel him.
Putin. But the key thing was that Surkov then let it be known that this was what he was doing.
Is that Shadowgate? Is that why Millie Weaver and Gavin Winch just stopped? Is that why Patrick Berge smokes his bong all effing day in his office and does nothing? Is that why they're all hanging out with Rudy freaking Giuliani as we speak? Oh, best buddies ever. The world is a macabre and strange place. The revelation of the method, that's what you were, Shadowgate. That's what you are. And history will not be kind to Millie Weaver and the gang.
Which meant that no one was sure what was real or fake. As one journalist put it, it's a strategy of power that keeps any opposition constantly confused.
Oh, yes.
A ceaseless shape-shifting that is unstoppable because it's indefinable.
Oh, you're giving me
Which is
shivers.
exactly what Surkov is alleged to have done in the Ukraine this year.
How apt.
In typical fashion, as the war began, Surkov published a short story about something he called non-linear war. A war where you never know what the enemy are really up to, or even who they are. The underlying aim, Surkov says, is not to win the war, but to use the conflict to create a constant state of destabilized perception in order to manage and control. But maybe we have something similar emerging here in Britain.
Oh, baby. Tell us,
Everything
Adam.
we're told by journalists and politicians is confusing and contradictory. Of course,
Really? Yeah, does sound familiar. It's really difficult to work out what's going on, isn't it? Wow, I love this. I love you, Adam Curtis. Didn't like your last one, though.
there is no Mr. Surkov in charge, but it's an odd, non-linear world that plays into the hands of those in power. British troops have come home from Afghanistan, but nobody seems to know whether it was a victory or whether it was a defeat. Aging disc jockeys are prosecuted for crimes they committed decades ago, while practically no one in the City of London is prosecuted for the endless financial crimes that are being revealed there.
Wow. Did you ever think of that? Not that I don't want that little arsehole locked away forever, though they waited till he was dead, but you getting it? Prince Andrew? They're going after Virginia Giuffre. You said it's just the beginning. Is that what they told you? I guarantee you they go no further. And once the royals are under control and Prince Charles stops leaking letters saying when is an American president going to take on the Jewish lobby in America, we're not going to see anyone else. Think about it, people. Adam Curtis, genius. Last lot, not so good. He knows Russell Brand well. Speaking of Russell Brand and brands and crisis actors. But anyway, let's not be too cynical. Let's not be too cynical. This is gold. Gold for Australia.
In Syria, we are told that President Assad is the evil enemy. But then his enemies turn out to be even more evil than him. So we bomb them. And by doing that, we help keep Assad in power. But the real epicenter of this non-linear world is the economy. And the closest we have to our own shape-shifting, postmodern politician is George Osborne. He tells us proudly that the economy is growing, but at the same time, wages are going down.
Rand Paul
He says
comes
he is
to mind.
cutting the deficit, but then it's revealed that the deficit is going up. But the dark heart of this shape-shifting world is quantitative easing. The government is insisting on taking billions of pounds out of the economy through its austerity programme. Yet at the very same time, it is pumping billions of pounds into the economy through quantitative easing, the equivalent of £24,000 for every family in Britain. But it gets even more confusing, because the Bank of England have admitted that those billions of pounds have not gone where they are supposed to. A vast amount of the money has actually found its way into the hands of the wealthiest 5% in Britain. It has been described as the biggest transfer of wealth to the rich in recent documented history. It could be a huge scandal, comparable to the greedy oligarchs in Russia. A ruthless elite siphoning off billions of public money. But nobody seems to know.
wait for it. This goal, wait for what he says here. It's just brilliant. It's so simple. It's in our faces. If we could, ladies and gentlemen, if we can just see it, if we can just see this, it's all fucking bullshit. It's professional LARPing, crisis actor, horseshit. I don't believe anything anymore, but I'm not going to be belligerent. I'm not going to be cynical. I think.
It sums up the strange mood of our time, where nothing really makes any coherent sense. We live with a constant vaudeville of contradictory stories that makes it impossible for any real opposition to emerge, because they can't counter it with a coherent narrative of their own.
Did you hear that? We can't counter it with a coherent narrative of our own. That's why I've been going on about big grand strategy, to get that big picture which we can contain everything else. Watch video 39, the great game.
And it means that we as individuals become ever more powerless, unable to challenge anything, because we live in a state of confusion and uncertainty, to which the response is, oh dear.
Wow. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. You reckon Alex Jones is ever going to play that 5-minute clip? You know, we've got the former head of NATO, Marine Psychological Warfare, an instructor, Robert David Steele, running around. He's going to save the world, save the poor adrenochrome kids in the satanic child sacrifice rituals. Robert David Steele, a guy who specialized in fucking with people's heads, says on Alex Jones that his children are being kidnapped and taken to Mars on a 20-year ride. And he's hanging out, having lunch with who? Roger Stone, who's besties and working with Paul Manafort of 3EDC LLC, which works with General Jim Jones of Denology and Clearforce, who run these freaking operations. And there's Roger Stone is still sitting there, unmolested, with his little gay friend, Karl Rove's boyfriend, Ali Akbar, Ali Alexander, Tiny Prancer, the pedophile, Nick Fuentes, the closet gay. As Patrick Berge said, God bless him, before he became completely useless, it appears to get on Alex Jones, you have to be a sexual deviant. That would be correct, said the Sabbatean Frankist, Moses Hess. Man, did you get that powerful 5 minutes? I'm going to put this up on my Patreon as a file you can download. It'll only be about 30 megabytes, and you can send that round via WhatsApp and Signal and other things. I'll whack it up on BitChute or something. Well, I'll do something. And it's a powerful 5 minutes. Very powerful. Let's ask again what Yuri Bezmenov told us all those years again, ladies and gentlemen. What did Yuri Bezmenov tell us? The great man, KGB, who gave it all. You can just look him up, Yuri Bezmenov, ex-KGB, 1984, where he says here, ideological subversion or psychological warfare changes the perception of reality to such an extent that despite the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. When I see Patrick Berge do such great work, then sit and smoke pot all day, hanging out with the idiot Tor who tells her daughter every 5 minutes that time travel is possible amongst all their other cutard shit, and then they're all hanging around Rudy Giuliani, I get confused, ladies and gentlemen. I get a little confused. And my eyes start twitching, and I am confused. I don't understand why we are so... What the hell is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We're now going to read from... We're going to read that again. This time looking at this picture. Think about it. The right-left paradigm. Ideological subversion or psychological warfare changes the perception of reality to such an extent, whoops, spelling mistake, such an extent that I need someone to be in my editor. Can I find someone to correct my spelling? Reality to sink... Ideological subversion or psychological warfare changes... did I say 30 minutes? Sorry, all right, make it 40. Ideological subversion or psychological warfare changes the perception of reality to such an extent that despite the abundance of information, half of which is planted, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. Whew, profound. You combine that with Adam Curtis, what do you get? One final thing, we're going to read a little quote from the sycophantic, pathetic Uns review, who used to sort of do semi-stuff, then they just became total Putin groupies, as they amazingly do, and then just refused to pretend they never were. This is, quote, Berezovsky, American Pravda, fake political class. This is talking what Vladislav Surkov was doing, setting up. There's no right-left. They fake the whole effing thing. Apparently we can understand how they fake the whole thing in Russia, but we can't understand how they fake the whole effing thing in the United States and elsewhere. It's everywhere. It's a burgeoning business, professional psychological warfare, who advertise openly for actors to come be a crisis actor. Johnny on the spot witness. A burgeoning business for rats, Stasi rats. Let's read this. Consider the fascinating perspective of the recently deceased Boris Berezovsky, once the most powerful of the Russian oligarchs, and the puppet master behind President Boris Yeltsin during the late 1990s. After looting billions in national wealth and elevating Vladimir Putin to the presidency, he overreached himself and eventually went into exile. No, General Abed and the military were going to gut him, so good old Putin stepped in and did a bit of a show, got Oleg Deripaska and waved his pen at him and said, naughty oligarchs, and then filled it up with more oligarchs. According to the New York Times, he had planned to transform Russia into a fake two-party state, one social democratic and one neoconservative. Ring any bells? Ding, ding. In which heated public battles would be fought on divisive drag queen storytime, symbolic issues, while behind the scenes, both parties would actually be controlled by the same ruling elites, with the citizenry thus permanently divided and popular dissatisfaction safely channeled into meaningless dead ends. Russia's rulers could maintain unlimited wealth and power for themselves with little threat to their reign. Given America's history over the last couple of decades, perhaps we can guess where Berezovsky got his idea for such a clever political scheme. And if we were actually going to say it in terms of the United States, it would be General Jim Jones' knowledge in the NATO Psychological Warfare Planning Office placed heroes all through the alternative media and the mainstream, psychologically profiling them through Clearforce and other companies for their ideological dependability or weaknesses which could be exploited through our blackmail and bribery. And then, if they like tranny porn and don't want to be found out what they get up to with Roger Stone dressed in a clown suit with several children around, we then use those people, build them up. We get presidents and secretaries of state to raise their names. We get them on the front page of the New York Post and the Washington Post, David Icke. We then say they're our worst enemies whilst we promote them relentlessly with tens of millions of dollars of free advertising. We then use our special energized hubs to energize other little lackey rats, Nick Fuentes and others, Joe Rogan and others, and Whitney Webb, as we place our people in certain hubs and certain issues with certain demographics to capture markets whilst trying to fuck up other people by hacking them to death, exiling them, locking them up, and breaking their bones. That's the system. But things have changed, and they're not getting it all their own way. Keep waking up. Keep pushing the narratives. It's a war of narratives. And I'm telling you, in 2022, I can feel it. Something has changed. A critical mass has been grabbed in all the right places, military, policing, and elsewhere. And I'm so happy and stoked I played my role. Bit of a clown, messed it up a lot, but I did my best and I've made a difference. That should inspire you as well. You can make a difference. Let's do it smarter. Let's take our time. Let's do our tapping. Let's look after ourselves psychologically, spiritually, physically. And let's remember good old F. Scott Fitzgerald. I've got to stop. I want to keep going, but I've got to stop. Let's remember F. Scott Fitzgerald. Even if it seems hopeless, let's keep two states of mind. And let's not fall into the traps. Let's not be energized. Let's not be cynical when we see those, God bless those beautiful little Canadian truckers. God bless them. God bless them and the people that went out in the cold and had a say. All right, we support them and we love them. We pray for them and we pray for more of it. But let us always have in the other side of our mind the continual, ongoing, privatized military intelligence, psychological warfare programs that are going on daily. We've learnt so much. We've got to get the narratives right. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Stay well. I'm posting this Friday. It'll be up later in a week on YouTube, assuming I have my YouTube back. Thank you, YouTube. Yes, I understand now. I promise not to put an Iraqi at a Gaza rally on my video. I promise. Louis, you were in fine form that day, brother. My goodness, wasn't